But first of all, I want to say thank you. Where is Craig? Thank you, everybody, for joining us here for our prophecy update tonight, Sunday night. And for all of you who are watching at home or wherever you are watching, this is Pastor Dave Zamora. Dave, real quick before we answer these questions, name of your church, where's it from?
Living Way Fontana.
Is that on?
It sure is. Living Way Fontana.
In Fontana, California. That's Southern California.
Yes.
Pastor Dave Zamora, great brother, great friend, and I really like him because we're about the same height. And Pastor Brandon, we have him standing over there because he's taller than us. But Pastor Brandon Holthouse, many of you already know him. Pastor Brandon, where are you from?
Bakersfield, California, pastoring Rock Harbor Church, and then I have Tip of the Spear Ministries.
So this is great. So both Pastor Brandon and Pastor Dave have been with us here in Mexico. It's been a great time, you guys. It has been fantastic. But let's get on with our prophecy update. These are questions people want to know. You ready for the first one? Is Antichrist alive today?
La pregunta es, ¿el anticristo está vivo el día de hoy?
I would say that as the way things are going, he is most likely alive somewhere as things will progress, and I really don't care to know who it is because my concern is the Christ, and I won't be here when all that transpires. But yes, I would say that we can't be that dismissive on these things that yeah, most likely, yep.
Yo creo que por los tiempos en los que estamos viviendo el día de hoy, probablemente sí. No puedo declarar ni decir que sé quién es, pero igual no me preocupo demasiado porque en el momento que Él sea revelado quién es, yo no voy a estar aquí porque seré tomado por mi Señor. Pero por los tiempos que vivimos el día de hoy, creo que sí.
Amen. Pastor Brandon.
Okay.
Well, is the Antichrist alive today?
Oh, same question. Yeah. I think we have to say a definitive yes because the key idea about this, and Satan has ramped everything up since Israel became a nation again. And he has now seen that and everything ramped up. Interesting enough, that's why you have an increase of UAPs or UFOs that have increased since 1947, trying to create a false narrative when the rapture occurs. Mm-hmm. And so Satan has been working on that. Even the United States is getting ready to do an alien disclosure. Not to talk about aliens, but again, with all that going on, you have to understand that Satan has got his man in place. Yep. He's there. And when he's ready and God will allow it, he will come on the scene. And look, what's getting set up right now is Israel's getting isolated. The United States is, even with Donald Trump, is turning its back on Israel in many regards. And Israel will be isolated to the point that they would have to turn to another individual that will provide military help for them. And that's what we see from Isaiah 28. So you watch the United States turn its back. We're already doing it during the Trump administration. And Israel will have to turn to another person. That indicates to us that we're that close. That would also indicate the man has to be on the scene. Mm-hmm. He will come immediately on the scene, do a deal with Israel to give them protection. So absolutely, with all these factors, he's alive today.
Para resumir, Pastor Brandon cree.
Sorry.
Para resumir, Pastor Brandon cree.
Totally forgot.
You're good. You're good.
Para resumir, Pastor Brandon cree que sí, por lo mismo que se ve que se está orquestando ahorita en el mundo. Porque todo está acomodándose como para preparar el camino para que cuando esa persona se levante ya tenga todo preparado. Por ejemplo, vemos en Estados Unidos todo esto de los alienígenas, todas estas apariciones, ¿no? Estados Unidos ya está liberando documentos acerca de todo esto, que no se mete mucho en este tema, no lo va a comentar ahorita, pero están buscando, están preparando, están orquestando desde un momento una respuesta ante cuando suceda, por ejemplo, el rapto. Probablemente los culpen a ellos. Estamos viendo cómo Estados Unidos también están aislando a Israel, le han dado la vuelta, incluso están acomodando las cosas. Ahorita el mundo está en contra de Israel y está preparándose todo para ese momento, para que cuando este hombre salga a la luz ya tenga todo el camino preparado.
God bless
wow.
you. Wow. Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry about that.
I'm impressed.
Wow.
I mean,
that's incredible.
No kidding. And for everybody that's watching, so people are watching this all over the world. And wherever you're watching, now you can see what it's like when we're in foreign countries doing this with translators. And I'm
Sorry.
so blessed. I mean, I'm just so impressed. I'm like, wow.
How did you memorize that? That's
So-
great.
Pastor Dave, are you surprised at how fast Israel's being isolated?
Pastor
No.
David, ¿está sorprendido lo rápido que se está aislando Israel?
No, I believe the last conference we did together,
No, creo que en la última conferencia que hicimos juntos,
this was a question that was brought up,
esto fue una pregunta que se hizo,
especially concerning the new deal that was going to be taking place with Iran.
especialmente con el nuevo acuerdo que se estaba viendo con Irán.
And even in that alone, I began to see the isolation.
Incluso en medio de eso, yo ya estaba empezando a observar esa que lo ponían a un lado.
But it's exactly what the Word of God says.
Pero es exactamente lo que la palabra de Dios dice.
So the way I see it, everything's going according to plan.
Así que por lo que yo observo, todo se ve que está yendo acorde del plan.
So there's no surprise to me.
Así que no me sorprende.
But to those that don't know, it should be.
Pero para aquellos que no saben, les es sorpresa.
But we are one step closer, I would say.
Pero estamos un paso más cerca, diría yo.
I would say I'm not surprised, but I'm almost shocked at the same time.
Podría decir que no me cae de sorpresa, pero sí estoy asombrado.
The pace is alarming and needs to have everybody's attention.
La rapidez en que está sucediendo esto es alarmante y debería de llamar nuestra atención.
Pastor Brandon, anything else you want to say to that?
Yeah, I would say in America, we thought Trump would put the brakes on a lot of what the evil was doing.
Sí, de hecho en América creíamos que Trump iba a poner un freno ante todas las cosas malas que estaban sucediendo,
But it's actually accelerated.
pero de hecho lo está acelerando.
Trump has surrounded himself with technocrats like Elon Musk.
Trump se ha rodeado con personas tecnológicas como Elon Musk.
And we are about a year to 2 years away from a digital currency.
Estamos de 1 a 2 años de ya tener una moneda digital.
So imagine you doing your buying and selling without any pesos.
Ahora imagínate tus compras y tus ventas sin ningún efectivo.
Already there's 22 countries that are doing this now.
Ya hay 22 países que están haciendo eso.
And so the timelines have actually increased because of the invention of AI and quantum computing.
Yep.
Así que los tiempos se han adelantado por la inteligencia artificial y todas estas computadoras cuánticas.
Which means the beast system is being built right now.
Lo que nos muestra que desde ahorita se está edificando el sistema de la bestia.
So acceleration is what's happened.
Así que una aceleración es lo que está sucediendo.
Dave, let me ask you this, or maybe both of you. I'll start with you.
Dejen hacer una pregunta para Pastor David o incluso para ambos.
Do you think this is an accurate thought that if Kamala Harris became president, we would not be this far down the path?
El pensamiento es este: si Kamala Harris se vuelve presidente, que no va a quedar mucho tiempo después de eso.
Because we'd all be paying attention and pushing back against her nonsense.
Porque estaremos prestando atención, rechazando todo esto.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. And on the same point with Pastor Brandon on the acceleration,
Sí, de hecho, estoy de acuerdo con lo que acaba de comentar Pastor Brandon acerca de esa aceleración.
I believe that this administration, and I believed it from the very beginning, that God was going to use to usher in these things a lot sooner.
Yo creí que esta administración, incluso desde el principio, Dios la iba a usar para acelerar estas cosas.
I never personally held the view that this administration was going to help and do all these things. I kind of always viewed it as this is the way the Lord had done things even in the Old Testament.
De manera personal, él no miró esta administración como que iba a ser la salvación y iba a hacer todas las cosas bien, porque es algo que ha visto que Dios ha hecho y utiliza incluso desde el Antiguo Testamento.
They were calling Trump the modern day Cyrus.
Estaban llamando a Trump el moderno Siria.
I never did.
Yo nunca lo hice.
I said, that's a modern day Nebuchadnezzar.
Yo dije, ese es el Nabucodonosor moderno.
Got everybody fooled,
Tiene a todos engañados,
but God knows what he's doing.
pero Dios sabe lo que está haciendo.
And so with the acceleration,
Y con esta aceleración,
this is what Jesus spoke about.
eso es de lo que Jesús
When
habló.
you see these things taking place,
Cuando tú veas que estas cosas suceden,
like birth pains,
como dolores de parto,
they start far
empiezan lejos,
and they start to catch up closer and closer.
pero se van acercando poco a poco
It's going to accelerate.
y van a acelerar.
It's going to come quick.
Va a suceder rápido.
You have to be ready.
Tienes que estar listo.
And I'm going to be talking about that in my session today.
Y en mi sesión más adelante hablaré de eso.
With Nebuchadnezzar, his spiritual advisor was the prophet Daniel.
Correct?
Con Nabucodonosor, su
Not Paul White.
consejero espiritual fue Daniel.
Trump's spiritual advisor is Paula White. Slight problem. Pastor Brandon, anything you want to share before we go to the next question?
Yeah, because we saw this phenomenon in America.
Porque vimos este fenómeno en América.
Many of the churches were fighting against what Joe Biden was doing.
Muchas iglesias estuvieron peleando en contra de lo que Joe Biden estaba haciendo.
So when Trump got in office, it's like the churches backed off and said, okay, Trump can fight, I don't have to fight anymore.
Y lo que sucedió es que cuando Trump llega a oficio, a la oficina, las iglesias como que retrocedieron y dijeron, bueno, ahora que Trump pelee por nosotros, yo ya no lo voy a hacer.
So right now, many of the churches have just surrendered to what's happening in front of them.
Así que ahorita muchas de las iglesias solamente se han rendido a lo que hay delante de ellas.
They're not in the fight to be salt and light and contend for the faith and shine the light on evil.
No están peleando para hacer la sal de la tierra, para hacer la luz en el mundo, para pelear en contra del enemigo.
Because here's the fatal mistake they made.
Porque aquí está el error fatal que cometieron.
They put their faith in a political leader rather than Jesus.
Pusieron su fe
Wow.
en un líder político en
Wow.
lugar del Señor Jesucristo.
Wow.
That's the problem.
Ese fue el problema.
Now, with that, I voted for Trump. You
So did
voted
I.
for I think you did also, right?
Sure.
So as much as you saw that coming, you still voted for Trump
Yes.
Yeah.
too. So, however, the other side was so appalling, like you said. How could you even think of voting for something like that?
Yeah. It was the lesser of the evils.
Yeah. Lesser of two
It really
evils.
was.
Yes.
But I mean, we both talked about the speed that Abraham Accords would come in as early as when Trump took office, and it did.
They did. Yeah.
Don't say anything on that. Just keep going.
Están mencionando cómo los tres votaron con Trump, aún Pastor David hablando lo que dijo que nunca pensó que iba a ser como este héroe, pero fue así porque tuvieron que elegir lo que estaba menos peor, ¿no? Entonces no había la otra opción, no era una opción verdadera, entonces
A couple. Go ahead.
Another thing that surprised us was how friendly Trump was to Islamic countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar.
una de las cosas que les asombró también es ver lo amistoso que fue Trump con países musulmanes.
Trump sees everything as a financial transaction.
Porque Trump ve todo como una transacción financiera.
But the Islamic world does not view things in financial transactions.
Pero el mundo islámico no ve las cosas y las circunstancias como una transacción financiera.
They want to establish a caliphate.
Ellos quieren establecer su fe.
And that's why they chant death to Israel and death to America.
Y es por eso que proclaman tanto muerte a Israel como muerte a América.
So we have done a deal with the devil with the Islamic countries.
Y ahorita lo que están haciendo es un pacto con el diablo, con estos países musulmanes.
Get this. Qatar has infiltrated the United States by infusing $400 billion to infiltrate the United States.
Qatar se ha infiltrado en Estados Unidos al meter billones de dólares para estar ahí.
And they infuse that money in our K through 12 and colleges and universities to teach hating America, hating Christianity, hating Israel, and loving Islam.
Y ese dinero lo invierten en las escuelas, en las universidades, ¿para qué? Para educar a los jóvenes a odiar a Estados Unidos, a odiar el cristianismo y abrazar el Islam.
We are being corrupted from the inside
Están siendo corrompidos desde el centro.
on Trump's watch.
Mientras Trump está vigilando.
And I'd like to add to that, they
Right.
donated a plane to our president.
Yes.
Y le gustaría agregar a eso que incluso donaron un avión al presidente.
And they are the main ones that actually wrote up this agreement with Iran.
Y son los
Yep.
principales que escribieron el acuerdo con Irán.
And this administration allowed them to do that because of this money.
Y esta administración les permitió hacer esto por el dinero.
And Qatar was also the major funder and influence behind Hamas, October 7, 2023, in the
Yes.
attacks.
That's
Yes.
right.
Y Qatar fue una de las personas más involucradas y que financiaron en esta catástrofe que hubo.
Okay, we're almost out of time because everybody's hungry.
Ya casi se nos acaba el tiempo porque todos tienen hambre.
Una más question.
Una pregunta más.
And then Pastor Dave and I will do another Q&A later on today.
Y más adelante, Pastor David con Pastor Tom estarán teniendo la sesión de preguntas y respuestas.
It was exactly 3 years ago this weekend
Fue exactamente 3 años atrás en este fin de semana
that we were here before Dave jumped on board.
Yeah.
que estuvieron aquí antes de que Pastor Dan se involucrara,
Pre the invasion of Israel by Hamas.
antes de la invasión a Israel de parte de Hamas.
The question was between us in a private conversation, what will be the next event to divide the church?
Y la pregunta que hubo en medio de ellos ante este suceso fue, ¿qué es lo que viene después que va a dividir a la iglesia?
And we said pretty much at the exact same time, Israel.
Israel.
Y dijimos casi al mismo tiempo, Israel.
And that was 4 months before October 7, 2023.
That's correct.
Y eso fue meses después de este suceso.
So we're here.
Y ahora estamos aquí.
First to you.
The issue of Israel has divided the church in America.
El asunto de Israel ha dividido a la iglesia en América.
I hate to give you the bad news,
No me gusta compartirle las malas noticias,
but the majority of the churches in America have replacement theology and reject the Jewish people.
pero la mayoría de las iglesias en América han rechazado la teología y rechazan al pueblo de Israel.
And then even the churches that in their doctrine support Israel, they refuse to talk about Israel in their pulpits.
E incluso las iglesias que dentro de su doctrina sí aceptan a Israel, no lo dicen ni lo predican desde el púlpito.
And now, all through culture, the growing sentiment is against Israel and against the Jewish people right now.
Y ahora el crecimiento que se ha generado en la cultura es en contra de Israel y en contra del pueblo judío.
So now, even in my church, I am losing people because I support Israel because they listen to Tucker and Candace and Nick Fuentes.
Yep.
Incluso en su iglesia el pastor ha perdido miembros porque se rehúsan a apoyar a Israel y escuchan a todas estas otras personas.
Dave, we're out of time because lunch is here. So I know you want to say a lot. So we're going to come back to the Q&A after Dave's up right after lunch, and then we're at the Q&A.
Okay.
So if
Thank
you
you, my
can save everything for then. Hold on real quick. I got to give everybody an out. So listen, everybody watching online, here's the deal. By the way, Pastor Brandon's going to be joining me in Santa Barbara coming up for a conference there along with James Cadiz and David Tal and some others. And Dave Zamora was just with us in Washington, and Pastor Brandon was with us in Boise, Idaho. You can check all those out at hopeforourtimes.com. You'll see it right on the top page, and you can actually get those messages. They're all different. We even have Texas coming up too. We look forward to you joining us for any of those. But right now, you're going to shift to, are you ready for this? The book of Judges. So let's go to the book of Judges. All right, everybody, welcome as we continue right now. We're in the book of Judges with the life of Samson. We have this series going with Samson, and we're going to roll. So there's a story, some of you may have heard it before, about a lady. She was known as Garbage Mary. She had an emotional breakdown somewhere in her life. This goes back 100 years. She had an emotional breakdown somewhere in her life, and she became a recluse. And people rarely saw her until she died. And she just apparently Her house was just full of trash. She wouldn't go outside, just more and more trash and more and more trash. And when they discovered her, it was just an awful sight that she lived in a house that really had become its own dump. She never got over the breakdown that she had from whatever purpose or whatever reason that she had that breakdown. Reminds me of this gentleman I was asked to go visit many years ago. And I went to visit him and they told me, hey, something's not right. He seemed normal on the outside, I remember it. But I went to his house and somebody warned me about his house. Friends, I'm not exaggerating. He opened the door and to him it was perfectly normal. He knew I was coming over as a pastor just to see how things were going. And he opened up the door. I'm not kidding you. And he's standing there inside the door. I'm there, right? You're looking at me. It was trash. I don't mean boxes. Friends, I mean trash from the floor all the way to the ceiling. There was a path wide enough to walk through the entryway into the rest of the house. That's all that was. It was the whole house was that way. I got into what was supposed to be the kitchen and I'm trying to look around and it stunk and it was awful. It was shocking. I'd never seen anything like that. I had heard of people who had lived that way. And he seemed like a good Christian guy on the outside, but something wasn't right. I had to go out of the house because I couldn't handle the smell and I just never saw anything like that. It was awfully sad. Today we continue with Samson, the next judge of Israel, as we know. This is in the series of Samson. And a lot is written about him, and sadly a lot that's written about him is not favorable. He had all the riches of the heavenlies at his disposal. In the closing verse of chapter 13, said that he would be filled with the Spirit, he'd be given superhuman strength to defeat the Philistines, but sadly he squanders the blessings and resources from God. Not because of an emotional trauma, but he can't get over his passions for certain things of this world. He never fulfills his potential. Great privileges went through his hands like water because he did not control himself. Garbage Mary squandered resources because of pain, the story goes. She had the resources. She had everything that she needed. The money wasn't an issue or any of that. But she squandered resources because of pain, but Samson squandered the heavenly resources because of pleasure. And Samson, like Garbage Mary, didn't seem to recognize the danger of his choices. Spiritual and moral failure is usually gradual, not instant. It takes time. Start to drift. I remember reading this, or hearing this is from a pastor that I knew. He said he lived in California. One time he went to the beach in California. And those of you who've been to beaches before and on the ocean, you know, you get the currents. And he said he put his, he had his beach chair out, his towel, and he had his keys and his wallet left him there. This was enough years ago where you didn't have to worry about those things as much. And he goes out into the ocean and just starts swimming out there. Well, if you know how currents work in the Pacific Ocean and you're off the beach, you find out real quick that you have to keep your bearings by looking at where your stuff is, or you're by this lifeguard tower. That's how you know. So that's lifeguard tower number 17. I'm the orange chair just to the right of lifeguard tower number 17. You gotta have that bearing with your eyes. You gotta look at it. If you don't, you'll get lost and confused. So anyways, he goes to get out of the water like an hour later, and he walks up to his stuff. His chair's gone, his towel's gone, his key's gone, his wallet's gone. He goes up to the lifeguard that's over there and he says, "Hey, all my stuff is gone. Somebody stole all my stuff." And he's getting all mad. Didn't you see anybody stealing anything? He starts laughing at him, because the guy does. He goes, "This is lifeguard tower or whatever. That one's a mile up the beach from here where you were. You just drift. When you get your eyes off of the rock, you get your eyes off the Lord, you get your eyes off of the Word, you get your eyes off of His commandments, you get your eyes off of the desire that He has for you, and you start to find pleasures in the things of this world, you start to drift. And you won't even notice it. Samson was that way. He just drifted. It was gradual. That's how failure works. And suddenly you find out, you wake up, you go to get out of the water, and you find out you are lost. With Samson, think of this, small compromises accumulate. Sensitivity to right and wrong dulls over time. What once seemed unthinkable becomes normal. The takeaway is this: no one plans to end up in ruin. You ever thought of that? I've never met a person yet that says, "I'm planning the rest of my life and I hope I end up in ruins." I don't know anybody who's planned that. You have to plan, though, to do what's right. You have to plan to live for the Lord, or you will end up in ruins. Samson is a reminder that decline happens through unchecked patterns. And the danger is not just the big sins, but small repeated compromises. The real warning isn't dramatic failure, it's the quiet drift that leads to failure. As we look at this, the danger isn't in just the big things, it's in the small things. And Samson was able to compromise and just go through and do the things that he did, like hang out in the vineyard, touch the dead animal, and eventually get a haircut. Maybe because each time he did something wrong, he still had a victory. God didn't smite him, He didn't judge him on the spot. Maybe that's why it happened that way. I don't know, the Bible doesn't tell us, but nevertheless, we can tell with Samson that he drifted and he totally messed up. Chapter 14 of Book of Judges, verse 1 says, "Now Samson, he went down to Timnah." By the way, Timnah was a border town. So think of that. He's on the border. In your Christian life, you can end up on the border. You got to be careful. Samson went down to Timnah and saw a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. So he went up and told his father and mother, saying, "I have seen a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore, get her for me as a wife." You're thinking, you've got to be kidding me. Get her for me as a wife? I've seen her. A daughter of the Philistines. So again, where is he? He's on the border in Timnah. Then his father and mother said to him, "Is there no woman among the daughters of your brethren or among all my people that you must go and get a wife from the uncircumcised, from the Philistines?" And Samson said to his father, "Get her for me, for she pleases me well." Wow, that's pretty straightforward. But his father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord, that he was seeking an occasion to move against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Again, even though Israel wasn't crying out for help. God knew Israel was in trouble, even though they didn't know they were in trouble. But I look at this and I think this is so interesting. Samson is looking for a wife. In fact, as I mentioned, if you're with us last time in Judges, Samson wouldn't listen to either his mom or his dad. His mom was the best woman in his life, but Samson had he had a girl problem, and he wouldn't listen to the wisdom from his mom. He wouldn't listen to the wisdom from his dad either. Isn't there a woman among the people of Israel that you can choose? No, instead, you choose a woman of the Philistines. You've been hanging out at the border. What are you thinking? According to verse 4, they didn't know, mom and dad didn't know that God was going to use this thing with Samson as an opportunity to move against the Philistines. He's going to get mixed up with the wrong girl, but listen, God is still sovereign no matter what Samson does. All right, God has this. Even though Samson makes bad decision, God's still sovereign. God's on the throne. Notice this, Samson, his first recorded action, he went down. 5 times in chapter 14, the expression is used referring to Samson that he went down. It's speaking down geographically. He goes down to the area of Timnah geographically, but we look at this, there's a much deeper spiritual significance. Samson had a high calling as a Nazarite, but the entire course of his life was going down from whom he was called to be. It's going down. Not only does Samson go down, but he goes down to a town of the Philistines, the enemy of Israel. Right there is a border town, located in the Sorek Valley, about 6 miles from his home village of Zorah. By the way, if you drive through the land of Israel, get an opportunity to go there, you might be with a tour. We do it when you're driving down the road on the way to Beit Shemesh or Elah Valley. I mentioned this in one of the previous messages, but you go past Samson's hometown. By the way, Beit Shemesh is also the place where you read about in 1 Samuel when the Philistines took the Ark of the Covenant and they started to break out with swords and everything. They put it before their god Dagon and all that. And they put the Ark of the Covenant, they said, we got to get rid of this thing. It's causing us trouble. They put it on the oxen. The oxen walked back to the place of Beit Shemesh with the Ark of the Covenant. It's all in that area. Kind of a cool thing. Kind of cool to go see these things. But Samson's first recorded actions, he went down. Samson's first recorded words, get this, I have seen a woman, get her for me. In fact, in verse 2, I've seen a woman, get her for me. Verse 3, get her for me because she pleases me. It's interesting, from the best that we can tell, Samson hadn't even talked to her. All he did is he decided that she's the one. The ESV correctly translates Samson in verse 3 as saying, get her for me because she is right in my eyes. Dad, Mom, I don't really care if she's a Philistine. That girl's hot and I want her. That's their son. You got to get this. This is the man that God has gifted. He's going to be in heaven. We know that from Hebrews. But he's telling his mom and dad, he's a young guy. Hey, I don't care about the Jewish women. That chick over there is hot. I want her. She's right in my eyes. This is not love at first sight. Friends, this is lust at first sight. The fact is, it's a warning. Samson cared how things looked to him. He did not care how things looked to the Lord. Let that sink in. He cared how things looked to him. He didn't care how things looked to the Lord. How about you? Do you care how things look to you, or do you care how things look to the Lord? Someone said it's a dangerous thing to fall in love with the wrong person. Love or lust, Samson is off to a really bad start. Let's get some faith lessons. First faith lesson is this: guard your heart. Samson didn't. He went down to Timnah, down to the border. Christian, be careful. When you start going on the border, you're going to get yourself in trouble, and you're going to start seeing things that you think, I like what I see. That's what Samson did. The NIV, Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, Solomon wrote, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Same verse, New King James, says, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. Sometimes Christians reason it's okay for me to go to this party. It's okay for me to watch this particular movie. I know I shouldn't. Listen, Samson was more concerned with how things appeared to him, how things looked to him, how they felt to him, than how they felt to the Lord, how they looked to the Lord. And he went down to the border. Don't do that. Be concerned, what does the Lord think of this? Proverbs chapter 6, verse 27 warns, can a man take fire to his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Problem with Solomon, he had a pattern and he wasn't getting burned. He wasn't getting burned. He wasn't getting burned. So he breaks this part of the vow. Then he breaks that part of the vow. And he looks at the girls, and he shouldn't be doing that. You got the Jewish girls. He doesn't want the Jewish girls. He wants to hang out in the places he shouldn't be hanging out. And God didn't judge him. And so he just went along with it. Eventually, so he takes fire to his bosom. Can you do it and not be burned? Eventually he got burned. Let me tell you, when he got burned bad. It was horrible. It was horrific. But he thought he could get away with it because God didn't smite him. You might be thinking you're getting away with something because God hasn't dealt with you yet. Listen, can a man take fire to his bosom and not be burned? Trust me, if you do not turn from that, if you're doing something you shouldn't do, the day is coming when God will deal with it. And I promise you, it's going to be painful. Turn from it now if you got something going on. Guard your heart. Number two, second faith lesson, guard your words. Samson's abrupt reply to his father and mother, get her for me, for she is right in my eyes, reveal a great deal about his character. He was a man dominated by his appetites and desires, and he had particular weakness for the wrong kind of women. Likewise, the words we speak reveal an awful lot about our character. Listen, when we speak badly about other people, it's a heart issue. It's a heart issue. Got to be careful what you say about other people. I learned in ministry, when somebody comes to me and they're speaking badly about another pastor, as soon as they get mad at me, because they eventually will, they're going to go to another pastor and speak badly about me. It's characters. People have their, they don't change their character. When a person is a gossip around you, they're a gossip about you too. So it's looking at these things. When people complain, I know it's their character. They're a complaining person. God doesn't delight in any of those things. The third faith lesson, our words are a window to our soul. Samson's words, get her for me. I like her. She's looking good. Our words are a window to our soul. In Matthew chapter 12, Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. A good man, out of the good treasure of his heart, brings forth good things, and an evil man, out of the evil treasure, brings forth evil things. Our words are a window to our heart. In Matthew chapter 12, beginning in verse 36, Jesus said, I say to you that for every idle word men may speak, they will give account of it on the day of judgment. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. What does this mean? Your private words reveal who you really are, and you will give an account for the words that you shared in secret. Ouch. Be very careful. If that's a problem for you, then I recommend Psalm 141, verse 3. Pray like the psalmist did. Lord, set a guard over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. keep me from saying those things I should not say. We move on from here. What happens? Samson slays a lion. Look at this. Verse 5 through 9. He slays the lion. So Samson went down to Timnah with his father and mother and came to the vineyards of Timnah. He's going down. Come on, mom and dad, we're going to get the girl. You got it, right? Now, to his surprise, a young lion came roaring against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon Samson, and he tore the lion apart as one would have torn apart a young goat, though he had nothing in his hand, but he did not tell his father or his mother what he had done. In other words, he's going down to Timnah with his mom and dad. Apparently, he wandered off into the field over there, and a lion comes at him, so his mom and dad are over here. They don't see what's going on. Samson whoops this lion, tears it to pieces. It's laying out there in the field somewhere. It's back there somewhere. Mom and dad are over there, so they don't see it. Sammy Poo comes walking back. Then he went down to Timnah. Well, it says here, the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, but he did not tell his father or mother what he had done. Verse 7, and then he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. I guess to meet the girl. Oh yeah, she's good looking, and I like what she said. After some time, when he returned to get her, he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, a swarm of bees and honey were in the carcass of the lion. And he took some of it in his hands, and he went along eating the honey. And when he came to his father and mother, he gave some to them, and they also ate, but he did not tell them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. Wow. So there you go. You kind of got an idea of what Samson is up to. He didn't tell his parents about it. Because he's a Nazarite, he kills the lion. But then when they go back, by then the lion's dead, and the pieces and the bees had already started making a beehive out of the lion's carcass that Samson had left there. By the time they went back to the area with the girl, and so the bees are making honey. So what's happening is it's a dead animal. Remember, he's got a Nazarite vow. He's not allowed to touch any dead thing. But that's where he went wrong. One of the places he went wrong. He goes against the vow. He was set apart from his womb, from his mother's womb, from his birth. He's set apart. He doesn't care that much about the things of God. That's easy. I'll take care of the lion. It's fine that he killed the lion. The lion was about to kill him. The Spirit of the Lord comes upon him, but the Spirit of the Lord didn't make him go back and touch the dead thing. No. That was all Samson. It's a warning to believers who don't take their vow to the Lord seriously. I look at Samson and think, what are you doing? What are you thinking? In Proverbs chapter 16, verse 32, Solomon wrote, whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit is better than he who takes a city. I mean, you think of that, you go, if you're slow to anger, better than the mighty. And if people just get mad, go around shaking their fists, always want to fight. No, if you can control your anger, that's a good thing. And if you rule your own spirit, that's better than one who takes a city and rules the city, if you can control your own spirit. So Samson could take a city. Samson could beat up a lion. Samson could beat up hundreds and even thousands of Philistines. But he couldn't rule his own spirit, and he couldn't control his anger, as we find out later on. One author put it well, Samson was fully capable of capturing a city, but he refused to take control of his own desires and lusts. As a result, he squandered his potential, failed to accomplish his mission, was reduced to complete weakness, and the seeds of his failure are evident in the sight to him, in this insight to him as a young man. The seeds of his failure are evident in this insight to him when he was a young man, the seeds of failure. Here's the deal. With Samson, he lacked respect for God. The proof is in the disrespect for his parents, and he disrespected the Nazirite vow that God had given him. God had called him to be different. He was set apart to be different. Samson had little, if any, respect for anyone. And here it is evident that he didn't respect authority, even his own mom and dad. In saying to his father and mother, "Get her for me," he showed a sinful disrespect for his parents and a sinful disrespect for God. And God had commanded the people of Israel to marry the people of Israel. He's completely blowing all of that out. So it's not just breaking the Nazirite vow. Samson was a breaker of the rules of God. Righteousness. Living for the Lord. Keeping vows. In fact, Deuteronomy chapter 7, where the Bible talks about marriage between God's people and those who are not God's people, the Bible says this in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2 through 4. "You shall make no covenant with them," those who are not the people of Israel, "nor shall you make marriages with them. You shall not give your daughter to their son, nor take their daughter for your son, for they will turn your sons away from following me." Samson doesn't pay any attention to these things of God. And unfortunately for you and me, we can do the same thing. In fact, let me just say this. If you're someone that's thinking about getting married, remember this. In the New Testament, the Bible tells 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers." Be very careful. If you're thinking of getting married, make sure your spouse-to-be is a believer. And maybe you're already in a marriage with an unbeliever. You don't get a divorce. That would be wrong to get a divorce. You can't say, "Well, they're not a believer and they're not doing what." Well, forget that. You are supposed to win them over by your godly character. You pray for them that they would come to know Christ. As a believer, you have the Spirit of the Lord in you. And your spouse doesn't have the same Spirit in you. Let the Spirit of the Lord work in your life. But if you're thinking of getting married to a non-believer and you're a believer, remember, you have the Spirit of the Lord in you, they don't. This is a caution. Don't be unequally yoked. Samson blew off the Old Testament one. Christians blew off the New Testament one. And look what Samson did. Samson lacked self-discipline. Note here, verse 5, we find Samson at the vineyard. Verse 8, he turned aside to go into the vineyard. Isn't that interesting? More and more we see with Samson, hey, there's a vineyard over there. I'm not supposed to be over there. He goes over there. Hey, here's a lion. I'm going to kill it. Hey, I'm going to come back, go through the vineyard and go get some honey out of this dead carcass over here. Being in the vineyard, Samson was walking on dangerous ground. He wasn't supposed to be there. The Nazirite vow of Numbers chapter 6, verse 3 says in part, "The Nazirite shall separate himself from wine and similar drink, neither shall he drink any grape juice, nor eat fresh grapes or raisins." It's anything to do with the vine. He may not be drinking the vine, but he certainly is walking on dangerous ground. And touching a carcass was a rebellious act against the vow that he had with God. Numbers chapter 6, verse 6 and 7 says in part, "All the days that the Nazirite separates himself to the Lord, he shall not go near a dead body." It doesn't mean any dead body. "He shall not make himself unclean, even for his father or his mother." You wonder why Samson didn't tell his parents that he killed the lion out there and got the honey from there? He wanted to keep it a secret. Why? Because he didn't want his parents to know that he was in rebellion against God. I'm sure that they already knew. They already have some hints. We have some problems with our teenage son. Wants to get married to this non-Jewish girl. Wants to go hang out in the area of Timnah. And no doubt they're walking with him. All of a sudden he sees a vineyard and turns off. Wait a minute. Our son, Sammy's not supposed to be out there. But he was. Let's get through some faith lessons. Just a few of them, we'll wrap up. Number one, be dedicated to self-discipline. What's self-discipline? Think of it like this. Self-discipline is when you tell yourself to do something and you don't talk back. I love that. You don't talk back. This is what I'm going to do. It's like you got on this shoulder, you got, I'm going to be self-disciplined. And then you got the other voice that's talking back. You don't talk back to yourself. You say, I'm going to do this thing. Be dedicated to self-discipline. Samson was an undisciplined man who indulged himself freely. He was a man controlled by his passions. He lacked discipline. Number two, second faith lesson, be a fighter for faithfulness. A fighter for faithfulness. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 26, Paul writes, thus I fight, not as one who beats the air, but I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified. It's worth noting that Paul recognized the victory over temptation and bringing it into subjection to the things that God requires, self-discipline, and he likens it to a fight. Self-discipline, again, is when you tell yourself to do something and you don't talk back. Sometimes you got to fight and you're fighting on your knees. Check this out. The Greek word where Paul uses for fight in 1 Corinthians, it means to contend as a boxer. And discipline comes from a Greek word which means to hit under the eye, to subject yourself. That's what Samson should have done. Actually, Samson should have hit himself in the eye, but no. You don't talk back. You discipline yourself like a boxer. Last faith lesson, be inclined toward integrity. Be inclined toward integrity. Samson was not. Again, we're going to see him in heaven. He's in the hall of faith. But man, did he blow it. Be inclined toward integrity. Here's a good description for integrity. Integrity implies you do what is right when no one else is looking or when everyone else is compromising. Let me read that again. You do what is right when no one else is looking. You still do what's right. Or when everybody else is compromising, you don't compromise. The appearance of integrity can be deceiving. You can fool others, but you can't fool God. On the surface, our lives may show signs of integrity. We return money that isn't ours. That's integrity. Without being asked. You know it's not yours, you return it. We give ourselves to our family. We give ourselves to church. But if someone were to write a story about our lives, would we really want them to print everything? So integrity is, you still keep your integrity when no one else knows. And you keep your integrity when everybody else is compromising. Listen, next message with Samson, it's a bachelor party. We're going to a bachelor party. You'll see how that goes. I can give you a hint. I've already read ahead. It's not going to go well for anybody at the party. I mean, anybody at the party. That's next time. But right now, listen, commit yourself to the Lord and His ways. And His ways. Be surrendered to Him. Be a person of integrity. Be a person of self-discipline. Be a person who says, okay, God, I'm committed to you. Don't let me go walk in the vineyard and say it's okay. Don't let me go to Timnah and say it's okay. Don't let me do the things that I know that I shouldn't be doing. Let me live for you. Let me be set apart to you, to live for you, knowing that one day we are going to be home with you. Friends, I want to encourage you, live for the kingdom of heaven. This life is short. One day it's going to be over. And how many of us are going to say when we stand before the Lord, I wish I had done something better with my time for the Lord. I wish I lived more for the Lord. I wish I could have a do-over. I guarantee you, Samson, you're going to meet him on that day because we know he's in heaven because of Hebrews chapter 11. You know what you're going to hear from Samson? I wish I could have had a do-over. You don't want to be that way. Listen, thank you for joining me. And listen, by the way, if you'd like to support us here at Hope for Our Times, we'd really appreciate it. We're not supported financially by any church or organization or anything, but it's just by people like you that say, hey, I want to come alongside and partner with them. And you can do that by going to hopeforourtimes.com, and you can click on the give button there. And then also, if you like, you can download for free, we'll give them to you, the messages from Sunday morning and Sunday night, the outlines, study notes, and questions, so you can host a group. You can do a home group, you can do a midweek group, you might have a home church. We want to give you the lessons, we want to give you the outlines, we want to give you the study notes and the questions so you can go over them with your friends, and it is all free. All you have to do to get those is just email Tony here at hopeforourtimes.com in the contact, email Tony, and we will get those to you. They're absolutely free. We'll get you a link, and you can access them 24/7 wherever you are in the world, as long as you have the internet, at your own convenience, whatever time of day it works best for you, whatever day of the week it works best for you. It is all absolutely free, so take advantage of it. And again, if you'd like to come alongside to support us in the work going forward in the ministry that we do here, we really do appreciate it. It's in the ministry of the hope of the gospel. We store our treasure in heaven. We realize we're going there. And God bless you guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.